Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Sunday, October 9th, 2022, after 3 p.m. Eastern. You can't change the truth, but the truth can change you. Unknown. There are as many great truths in our universe as there are stars in the sky. And yet, just like the billions of trillions of stars that exist, not all truths are created equal. This universe is not just made up of black and white colors. When you really start focusing, because when you look up there, you see all white, you see stars, and if there's no light pollution. And you'll see just all kinds of colors. And there's a vast multidimensional cosmic playground out there, as well as inside us all as well. Now, something that you'll find quite how we perceive things. And here's a little story to prove that. Grace lay on the psychiatrist's couch. Close your eyes and relax, said the shrink. And I will try an experiment. He took a leather key case from his pocket. He flipped it open, shook the keys. What did that sound remind you of? He asked Grace. She whispered, sex. Then he closed his key case and touched it to the girl's upturned palm. Her body stiffened. And that? Asked the psychiatrist. She replies, sex. Grace murmured nervously. Now open your eyes, instructed the doctor, and tell me why what I did was sexually evocative to you. Hesitantly, her eyelids flickered open, and Grace saw the key case in the psychiatrist's hand and blushed scarlet. Well, to begin with, she stammered, I thought that first sound was your zipper opening. Our minds are constantly projecting itself. Your mind is constantly interfering with reality, giving it a color, shape, form that are not its own. Your mind never allows you to see that which is. It allows you to see only that which it wants to see. Scientists used to think that our eyes, ears, nose, and our other senses and the mind were nothing but openings to reality, bridges to reality. But now the whole understanding has changed. Now they say our senses and the mind are not really openings to reality, but guards against it. Only 2%, roughly, of reality ever gets through these guards into you. Only 2% of reality ever gets through these guards into you. 98% of reality is kept outside. And the 2% that reaches you and your being is no longer the same. It has to pass through so many barriers. It has to conform to so many mind things that by the time it reaches you, it is no longer itself. Meditation means putting the mind aside so that it no longer interferes with reality and you can see things as they are. Why does the mind interfere at all? Because the mind is created by society. It is society's agent within you. It is not in your service. Remember. It is your mind, but it is not in your service. It is in a conspiracy against you. It has been conditioned by society. Society has implanted many things in it. It is your mind, but it no longer functions as a servant to you. It functions as a servant to society. If you are a Christian, then it functions as an agent of the Christian church. If you are a Hindu, then your mind is Hindu. If you are a Buddhist, then your mind is Buddhist. And reality is neither Christian, nor Hindu, nor Buddhist. Reality is simply as it is. You have to put these minds aside. The communist mind, the fascist mind, the Catholic mind, the Protestant mind, there are 3,000 religions, give or take, on the earth. There are over 3,000 religions on the earth. Big religions, small religions, very small sects, and sects within sects. 3,000 in all. So there exists 3,000 minds, types of mind, and reality is one, and existence is one, and truth is one. Meditation means put the mind aside and watch. Put the mind aside and watch. That's the meaning of meditation. The first step, love yourself. Love yourself will help you tremendously. By loving yourself, you will have become freer from the society and its conditioning. And the second step is watch. Just watch. You're not judging, you're watching. Buddha does not say what has to be watched. Everything. Walking. Watch your walking. Eating. Watch your eating. Taking a shower. Watch the water. The cold water falling on you. Touch of the water. The coldness. The shiver that goes through your spine. If you're taking a cold shower. The same with the hot. Watch everything. Today, tomorrow, always. Watch everything. A moment finally comes when you can watch even your sleep. That is the ultimate in watching. The body goes to sleep, and there is still a watcher awake. Silently watching the body fast asleep. That is the ultimate in watching. Right now, just the opposite is the case. Your body is awake, but you are asleep. Then you will be awake, and your body will be asleep. The body needs rest, but your consciousness needs no sleep. Your consciousness is consciousness. It is alertness. That is its very nature. The body tries, it tires because the body lives under the law of gravitation. It is gravitation that makes you tired. That's why running fast, you will be tired soon. Going upstairs, you will be tired soon, because the gravitation pulls you downwards. In fact, no stand is tiring. To sit is tiring. When you lie down flat, horizontal, only then is there a little rest for the body, because now you are in tune with the law of gravitation. When you are standing vertical, you are going against the law. The blood is going toward the head against the law. The heart has to pump hard against the law. But consciousness does not function under the law of gravitation. Hence, it never gets tired. Gravitation has no power over consciousness. It is not a rock. It has no weight. It functions under a totally different law, the law of grace, or as it is known in the East, the law of levitation. Gravitation means pulling downward. Levitation means pulling upward. The body is continuously being pulled downward. That's why finally it will have to lie down in the grave. That will be the real rest for it. Dust unto dust. The body has returned back to its source. The turmoil has ceased. Now there is no conflicts. The atoms of your body will have real rest only in the grave. The soul soars higher and higher. As you become more watchful, you start having wings, and the whole sky is yours. Man is a meeting of the earth and the sky of body and soul. Man is a meeting of the earth and the sky of body and soul. Now, if you are not selfish, you will not be altruistic. Remember, if you are not selfish, you will not be unselfish. And remember, only a very deeply selfish person can be unselfish. But this has to be understood because it looks like a paradox. What is the meaning of being selfish? Because people talk, just like Grace's experience with the shrink and how she perceived things, right? How the mind perceived what was going on, which was totally wrong. So, what is the meaning of being selfish? The first basic thing is to be self-centered. The second basic thing is always to look for one's blissfulness. If you are self-centered, you will be selfish whatsoever you do. You may go and serve people, but you will do it only because you enjoy it, because you love doing it. You feel happy and blissful doing it. You feel yourself doing it. You are not doing any duty. You are not serving humanity. You are not a great martyr. You are not sacrificing. These are all nonsensical terms. You are simply being happy in your own way. It feels good to you. You go to the hospital and serve the ill people there, or you go to the poor and serve them, but you love it. It is how you grow. And deep down, you feel blissful and silent and happy about yourself. A self-centered person is always seeking his or her happiness. And this is the beauty of it, that the more you seek your happiness, the more you will help others to be happy. Because that is the only way to be happy in this world. If everybody else around you is unhappy, you cannot be happy. Because man is not an island. He is part of the vast continent. And if you want to be happy, you will have to choose to help others who surround you to be happy. Then and only then can you be happy. Do you see why there's so many people on this planet that are unhappy? You have to create the atmosphere of happiness around you. If everybody is miserable, how can you be happy? You will be affected. You are not a stone. You are a very delicate being, very sensitive. If everybody is miserable around you, their misery will affect you. Misery is as infectious as any dis-ease. Blissfulness is also infectious as any dis-ease. If you help others to be happy, in the end, you help yourself to be happy. A person who is deeply interested in this and in his happiness is always interested in others' happiness also, but not for them. Deep down, he is interested in himself. That's why he helps. If in the world everybody is taught to be selfish, the whole world will be happy. But you see how they have conditioned the civilization to think it's bad. There will be no possibility for misery. If in the world everybody is taught to be selfish, the whole world will be happy. There will be no possibility for misery. Teach everybody to be selfish. Unselfishness grows out of it. Unselfishness grows out of being selfish. Unselfishness is ultimately selfishness. It may look unselfish in the beginning, but finally it fulfills you. And then happiness can be multiplied as many as are the people around you that are happy, that much happiness goes on falling on you. You can become superbly happy. And a happy person is so happy, he wants to be left alone to be happy. He wants his own privacy to be preserved. He wants to live with the flowers and the poetry and the music. Why should he bother to go to wars, be killed, and kill others? Why should he be murderous and suicidal? Only unselfish people can do that because they have never known the bliss that is possible to them. They have never had any experience of what it is to be, what it is to celebrate. They have never danced. They have never breathed life. They have not known any divine glimpse. All those glimpses come from deep happiness, from deep satiety, contentment. An unselfish person is uprooted, uncentered. He is in deep neurosis. He is against nature. He cannot be healthy and whole. He is fighting against the current of life, being, existence. He's trying to be unselfish. He cannot be unselfish because only a selfish person can be unselfish. When you have happiness, you can share it. When you don't have it, how can you share it? To share, in the first place, one must have it. An unselfish person is always serious, deep down ill, in anguish. He has missed his own life. And remember, whatever you miss, your life, you become murderous, suicidal. Whenever a person lives in misery, he would like to destroy. Misery is destructive. Happiness is creative. There is only one creativity, and that is of blissfulness, cheerfulness, delight. When you are delighted, you want to create something. Maybe a toy for children, maybe a poem, maybe a painting, something. Whenever you are too delighted in life, how to express it? You create something or other. But when you are miserable, you want to crush and destroy something. You would like to become a politician. You would like to become a soldier. You would like to create some situation in which you can be destructive. That's why every now and then war erupts somewhere on the earth. It is a great disease. And all politicians go on talking about peace. They prepare for war, and they talk for peace. In fact, they say, we are preparing for war to preserve peace. Most irrational. Most irrational. If you are preparing for war, how can you preserve peace? To preserve peace, one should prepare for peace. It's like the flags we fly. All military flags in this country prepare for war, military flags, instead of flying the flag for peace. That's why the new generation all over this world is a great danger to the establishment. They are interested only in being happy. They are interested in love. They are interested in meditation. They are interested in music, dance. Politicians have become very alert all over the world. The new generation is not interested in politics. Rightists, leftists. They are not interested at all. They are not communists. They don't belong to any ism. They are not communists. They don't belong to any ism. A happy person belongs to himself. Why should he belong to any organization? That is the way of an unhappy person, to belong to some organization, to belong to some crowd. Because he has no roots within himself, he does not belong. And that gives him a very, very, very deep anxiety. He should belong. He creates a substitute belonging. He goes and becomes part of a political party, of a revolutionary party, or anything, a religion. Now he feels he belongs. A crowd is there in which he is rooted. One should be rooted in oneself, because the way from oneself moves deep down into existence. If you belong to a crowd, you belong to an impasse. From there, no further growth is possible. There comes the end, a cul-de-sac. You are not being taught to be unselfish, because I know if you are selfish, you will be unselfish automatically, spontaneously. If you are not selfish, you have missed yourself. Now you cannot be in contact with anybody else. The basic contact is missing. The first step has been missed. Forget about the world and the society and the utopias and Karl Marx. Forget about all this. You are just here for a few years to be in joy, delight, be happy, dance, love. And out of your love and dancing, out of your deep selfishness, will start an overflowing of energy you will be able to share with others. And love is one of the most selfish things. And you see how we're everything that we have been programmed with to deny us of who and what we are across the board. You can see the confusion. You can feel it in your heart-mind. Love is the only freedom from attachment. Love is the only freedom from attachment. When you love everything, you are attached to nothing. Man made prisoner by the love of a woman, and woman made prisoner by the love of a man, are equally unfit for freedom's previous crown. But man and woman, made as one by love, inseparable, indistinguishable, are verily entitled to the prize. That came from the book of Merdad, Mikhail Nemi. Love is the only freedom from attachment. When you love everything, you are attached to nothing. In fact, one has to understand the very phenomenon of attachment. Why do we cling to something? Because we are afraid we will lose it. Perhaps somebody may steal it. Your fear is that what is available to you today may not be available to you tomorrow. Who knows about what is going to happen tomorrow? The woman you love or the man you love, either movement is possible. You may come closer, you may become distant. You may become again strangers, or you may become so one with each other that even to say that you are two will not be right. Of course, there are two bodies, but the heart is one. And the song of the heart is one. And the ecstasy surrounds you, both like a cloud. You disappear in that ecstasy. You are not you. I am not I. Love becomes so total, love is so great and overwhelming that you cannot remain yourself. You have to drown yourself and disappear. And that disappearance, who is going to be attached and to whom? Everything is. When love blossoms, it is totality. Everything simply is the fear of tomorrow does not arise. Hence, there is no question of attachment, clinging, marriage of any kind of contract, bondage. What are your marriages except business contracts? We commit to each other before a magistrate. We are insulting love. We are following law, which is the lowest thing in existence and the ugliest. When you bring love to the court, you are committing a crime that cannot be forgiven. You make a commitment before a magistrate in a court that we want to be married and we will remain married. It is our promise given to the law. We will not separate and we will not deceive each other. Now, do you think this is not a great insult to love? Are you not putting law above love? Law is for those who do not know how to love. Law is for the blind, not for those who have eyes. Law is for those who have forgotten the language of the heart and only know the language of the mind. Merdad's statement is of such great value that it should be deeply understood, not only intellectually, not only emotionally, but in your totality. Your whole being should drink it. Love is the only freedom from attachment. Because when you love, you cannot even think of anything else. When you love everything, you are attached to nothing. Each moment comes with new splendor, new glory, new songs. Each moment brings new dances to dance. Perhaps patterns may change, but love remains. Attachment is the desire that the partner should never change. For that, you have to commit to the court, to the society, all stupid formalities. And if you go against those formalities, you will lose all respect and honor in the eyes of the people amongst whom you have to live. Love knows nothing of attachment because love knows no possibility of falling from dignity. Love is the very honor itself, the very respectability itself. You cannot do anything against it. I'm not saying that partners cannot change, but that it does not matter if partners change. But love remains like a river flowing. Then, in fact, the world will have much more love than it has today. Today, it is just like a tap. Drip, drip, drip. It is not able to quench anybody's thirst. Love needs to be oceanic, not the drip, drip, drip of a public tap. And all marriages are public. Love is universal. Love does not invite only a few people to celebrate. Love invites the stars and the sun and the flowers and the birds. The whole existence is welcome to celebrate. Love does not need anything else. A night full of stars, what more can you ask for? Just a few friends, and the whole universe is friendly. I have never come across a tree who was against me. I have been to many mountains. I have never found any mountain antagonistic. The whole existence is very friendly. Once your own understanding of love blossoms, there is no question of attachment at all. You can go on changing your partners. That does not mean you are deserting anybody. You may come back again to the same partner. There is no question of any prejudice. Man should understand himself to be just like a child playing on the sea beach, collecting seashells, colored stones, and immensely enjoying, as if he has found a great treasure If a person can enjoy small things of life, this life, can live in freedom and can allow others to live in freedom, this whole world can become a totally different kind of world. Then it will have a quality of beauty, grace. It will have great luminosity. Every heart on fire. And once you know the fire, the flames go on growing. Flames of love grow just like trees grow. Flames of love bring flowers and fruits, just as trees do. But what you think is love, what everybody thinks is love, is not love. That's why such strange experiences happen. Somebody says to you, "How beautiful you look. I love you so much. There is no woman like you in the whole universe." And you never object. You have no right to say such things because you don't know all the women of the whole universe. When such beautiful things are said, one forgets completely the irrationality of them. These things people learn from films, from novels, all these dialogues, and they don't mean anything. They simply mean, just come to bed. But because we are civilized people, without making some introductory remarks, a little preface, you cannot say directly to someone, "Let's go to bed." The woman will run to the police station to report. "This man is saying something very ugly to me." But if you go in a civilized way, offer some ice cream first that cools the heart, bring some roses, talk some sweet nothings, then both understand that finally it has to end up in a morning hangover, a headache, a migraine. And in the morning, both will look awkward at each other. What were they doing in the bed? One will hide behind the newspaper as if he is really reading it. The other will start preparing the tea or coffee, just somehow to forget what happened. And later on, man made prisoner by the love of a woman, and woman made prisoner by the love of a man, are equally unfit for freedom's precious crown. The moment love becomes attachment, love becomes a relationship. The moment love becomes demanding, it is a person, prison. The moment love becomes attachment, love becomes a relationship. The moment love becomes demanding, it is a prison. It has destroyed your freedom. It cannot fly in the sky. You are encaged. And one wonders particularly, I wonder myself. People wonder about me. What I go on doing alone in my room. And I wonder about them. What do these two people go on doing together? Alone, I am at least at ease. If somebody else is there, there is trouble. Something is going to happen. If the other is there, the silence cannot remain. The other is going to ask something, say something, do something, or force you to do something. Moreover, if the same person goes on continuously, day after day, the man who invented the double bed was one of the greatest enemies of humanity. Even in the bed, no freedom. You cannot move. The other is by the side, and mostly the other takes most of the space. If you can manage a small space, you are fortunate. And remember, the other goes on growing. It is a very strange world where women go on growing and men go on shrinking. And the whole fault is of the man. He makes those women grow fatter and pregnant. More trouble is ahead. Once you put two persons together, a male and a female, soon the third will arrive. If it does not arrive, the neighbors become anxious. What is the matter? Why is the child not coming? I have lived within many people in many places. I was surprised. Why are people so anxious to create trouble for other people? If somebody is unmarried, they are worried. Why don't you get married? As if marriage is some universal law that has to be followed, tortured by everybody. One thinks it is better to get married. At least these people will stop the torture. But you are wrong. Once you get married, they start asking, when is the child coming? Now, this is a very difficult problem. It is not in your hands. The child may come, may not come, and will come in its own time. But the people will harass you. A home is not a home without a child. Is this true? Because a home seems to be a silent temple without a child. With a child, the home seems to be a madhouse. And with many children, troubles go on multiplying. I'm sitting silent in my room my whole life. I am not bothering anybody. I have never asked anybody, why are you not married? Why have you not produced a child? Because I don't think it is civilized to ask such questions, to make such queries. It is interfering in somebody's freedom. And people go on living with their wives, with their children. And because the presence of every new member that enters your family is going to disturb many things, you automatically become less and less sensitive. You hear less, you see less, you smell less, you taste less. You are not using all your senses in their intensity. That's why when somebody falls in love for the first time, you can see his face glow. You can see his walk has a new freshness, a dance in it. And you can see his tie. You can see his tie is rightly tied. His clothes are well pressed. Something has happened. But it does not last long. Within a week or two, the same boredom settles. You see the dust has started gathering again. The light is gone again and is dragging, not dancing. Flowers are still flowering, but he does not see any beauty. Stars go on provoking him, but he does not look at the sky. There are millions of people who have never looked upward. Their eyes are glued on the earth, as if they are afraid that some star will fall on them. There are very few people who would like to sleep under the sky with all the stars. The fear of vastness, aloneness, darkness keeps them from this. And millions of people go on, deep down feeling that if they had remained alone, if they had never bothered about love and marriage, but now nothing can be done. You cannot go back. You cannot be a bachelor again. In fact, you may have become so much accustomed to the prison that you cannot leave the prison. It is kind of a safety. It is cozy, although miserable. The blanket is rotten, but the double bed, at least, you are not alone in your misery. Somebody is sharing it. The fact is, somebody is creating it for you, and you are creating it for him or her. Love has to be of the quality that gives freedom, not new chains for you. A love that gives you wings and supports you to fly as high as possible. Have you ever seen couples, out of curiosity, and they're sitting at a table? This has happened through generations. They're sitting at a table. And I've always done this because I'm always curious. Not judgmental, But it's a lesson. It's a tremendous lesson for any of us. So you see the man, right? And you see the woman, and of course they're what? Maybe they're 50s or 60s or older. Been together obviously a long time, you can kind of tell. And they aren't talking. And they aren't looking at each other. And he's reading a newspaper that he got at the counter at the diner. And she's futzing with something. And they're not saying a word. And they don't say a word through the whole breakfast. And they get up and leave. He pays the bill. They walk out. Man and woman, made as one by love, inseparable, indistinguishable, are verily entitled to the prize. If love is understood as the meeting of two souls, not just a sexual, biological meeting of male and female hormones, then love can give you great wings. It can give you great insights into life. And lovers can become, for the first time, friends. Otherwise, they have always been enemies in disguise. The religions and the so-called saints who have escaped from the world, cowards who cannot face and encounter life, have poisoned the whole idea of love as the only spirituality. They have condemned sex, and with their condemnation of sex, they have also condemned love, because people think sex and love are synonymous. They are not. Sex is a very small part of our biological energy. Love is our whole being. Love is our soul. We have to learn that sex is simply a need of the society, of the race, to continue itself. You can participate if you want, but you cannot avoid love. The moment you avoid love, all your creativity dies, and all your senses become insensitive. Great dust gathers around you. You become the living dead. And yes, you breathe, and you eat, and you talk, and you go to the office every day till death comes and releases you from the boredom that you were carrying your whole life. If sex is all that you have, then you don't have anything. Then you are just an instrument of biology, of the universe, to reproduce. You are just a machine, a factory. But if you can conceive love as your real being, and loving another person as a deep friendship, as a dance of two hearts together, with such synchronicity that they become almost one, you don't need any other spirituality. You have found it. Love leads to the ultimate experience called God, called the Absolute, called the Truth. There are only names, and these are only names. In fact, the ultimate has no name. It is nameless. But love leads towards it. If you think only of sex and never become aware of love, then you're going down the drain. You will produce children, you will live in misery, and you will play cards, and you will go see the movie, and you will watch football matches, and you will have great experiences of utter futility, boredom, war, and a constant undercurrent of anxiety called by the existentialists angst. But you will never know the real beauty of existence, the real silence and peace of the cosmos. Love can make it possible. But remember, Love knows no boundaries. Love cannot be jealous because love cannot possess. It is ugly. The very idea that you possess somebody because you love. You possess somebody. It means you have killed somebody and turned him into a commodity. Only things can be possessed. Love gives freedom. Love is freedom. So some people want to know the difference between a healthy love of oneself and egotistic pride. There is a great difference between the two. Although they both look very like, the healthy love of oneself is a great spiritual value. The person who does not love himself will not be able to love anybody else ever. The first ripple of love has to rise in your heart. If it has not risen for yourself, it cannot rise for anybody else, because everybody else is further away from you. One has to love one's body. One has to love one's soul. One has to love one's totality. And this is natural. Otherwise, you would not be able to survive at all. And it is beautiful because it beautifies you. The person who loves himself becomes grateful, graceful, elegant. The person who loves himself is bound to become more silent, more meditative, more prayerful than the person who does not love himself or herself. If you don't love your house, you will not clean it. If you don't love your house, you will not paint it. If you do not love it, you will not surround it with a beautiful garden, with a lotus pond, whatever. If you love yourself, you will create a garden around yourself. You will try to grow your potential. You will try and do bring out all that is in you to be expressed. If you love, you will go on showering yourself. You will go on nourishing yourself. And if you love yourself, you will be surprised. Others will love you. Nobody loves a person who does not love themselves. If you cannot even love yourself, who else is going to take the trouble? And the person who does not love himself cannot remain neutral. And remember, in this life, there is no neutrality. The man who does not love himself hates will have to hate. Life knows no neutrality. Life is always a choice. If you don't love, that does not mean that you can simply remain in that non-loving state. You will hate. And the person who hates himself becomes destructive. The person who hates himself will hate everybody else. He will be so angry and violent and continuously enraged. The person who hates himself, how can he hope that others will love him? His whole life will be destroyed. To love oneself is a great spiritual value. But remember, self-love does not negate egotistical pride. Not at all. In fact, it means just the opposite. The person who loves himself finds there is no self in him. Love always melts the self. That is one of the alchemical secrets to be learned, understood, experienced. Love always melts the self. Whenever you love, the self disappears. You love a woman, and at least in the few moments when there is real love for the woman, there is no self in you, no ego. Ego and love cannot exist together. They are like light and darkness. When light comes, darkness disappears. If you love yourself, you will be surprised. Self-love means the self disappears. In self-love, there is no self ever found. There is the paradox: self-love is utterly selfless. It is not selfish, because whenever there is light, there is no darkness. And whenever there is love, there is no self. Love melts the frozen self. The self is like an ice cube. Love is like the morning sun, the warmth of love. And the self starts melting. The more you love yourself, the less you will find of self in you. And then it becomes a great meditation, a great leap into godliness. And you know it. You may not know it as far as self-love is concerned, because you have not loved yourself. But you have loved other people. Glimpses of it must have happened to you. There must have been rare moments when, for a moment, suddenly you were not there and only love was there. Only love, energy flowing from no center, from nowhere to nowhere. When two lovers are sitting together, there are two nothingnesses sitting. Two zeros sitting together. That is the beauty of love, that it makes you utterly empty of the self. So remember, egotistic pride is never love for oneself. Egotistic pride is just the opposite. The person who has not been able to love himself becomes egotistic. Egotistic pride is what psychoanalysts call the narcissistic pattern of life, narcissism. You must have heard the parable of Narcissus, right? He had fallen in love with himself, looking into a silent pool of water. He fell in love with his own reflection. Now see the difference. The man who loves himself does not love his reflection. He simply loves himself. No mirror is needed. He knows himself from within. Don't you know yourself, that you are? Do you need a proof that you are? Do you need a mirror to prove that you exist? If there were no mirror, would you become suspicious of your existence? I'll join in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. This playful witnessing consciousness only happens when the mind is not there, when there is no mind. However, the mind is your way to such a degree that you may need a technique to help you open fully to the here and now. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night, fall and morning. We'll return here Monday, October 10th, 2022, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call.